All right, welcome back to another episode of the McKinney Podcast. We celebrate what makes us unique by nature. What's going on, Fred?
Not much, I just think that it feels like we just moved here, literally.
Yeah?
Yes.
12 years ago?
14 years ago.
14 years ago?
14 years ago.
I don't actually follow your life story that closely. So if it sounds a little bit different, our mics aren't quite as nice as they are in the studio. Why is that? We're not in the studio, are we?
Yeah, no, we're not.
Is your mic on?
Check 1, 2.
Speaking of mics, that mic doesn't work? No? Is it good?
Am I back? No.
No?
Sadness.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll just share the mic then. Try it now.
Check 1, 2. No.
No?
Check. Hey.
Well, it's on location recording because we have some technology issues. So.
Yes. Check 1, 2. Hey, I'm back. All right. Give it up for our tech crew in the back.
So where are we recording from today?
We are coming to you live from The Gather in downtown McKinney, the premier event location in all of Collin County.
Man. Welcome our co-host, Kat Broyles, ladies and gentlemen. No, I'm kidding, obviously. Okay, so we have 10 minutes, which is a lot shorter than most of our episodes. So for you watching on YouTube or listening, congratulations, you get to get back to your day faster this time. So Fred and I thought about how best to make use of the time. We're just going to ask 3 rapid fire questions of each other to kind of give some backstory and whatnot, and then we'll open it up to you guys for question and answer if there is any, and a testimonial if one of you loves the show out there. And I will say, just to get us kicked off here, these mugs are one-off. They are signed by both hosts, and typically only the guest who's sitting in the studio gets one. But last time I checked, everyone here is a guest today.
Yeah, that's right.
So 2 of you are going to get a mug, and there is a third one sitting over there for the door prize. So, Fred, why McKinney? Why McKinney? You guys moved from Florida. You can go literally anywhere your heart desires. Why'd you pick McKinney, Texas?
Well, we looked around, and at first Elizabeth and I were like, you know what, we're moving to Texas. We looked across the United States and said, Texas is where we want to be. And when we came here looking for homes, we thought, Dallas is Texas, right? How many of you are not from Texas? All right, so that's right. There we go. That's like
the camera can only see like 30% of the room. There's probably 70% of the hands went up.
That's right.
Okay, put your hands up again if you're not from Texas.
A lot.
Not from Texas, from elsewhere.
Bro, that's more than half the room.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so let's just go the other direction. Raise your hand if you're from Texas.
Less than half the room.
That's right. It's amazing. So
which is the opposite of more than half the room.
That's right. Maths. We do maths.
I is smart.
That's right. So when Elizabeth and I looked, we came here, and our friends who live here said, "Welcome to Texas. Don't move to Dallas."
And you're like, don't tell me what to do.
That's right. And so we looked around and they said, look, you've got younger kids. You want to find a place that is great for family, some place that has an excellent school system, and some place where you can plant roots and plant them deeply. And so they suggested places like Allen, Plano, Frisco, and McKinney. And so we looked at all of those places, and when it came down to it, we absolutely fell in love with McKinney. So that's why we came to McKinney.
Love it. Yeah, so this is where you're supposed to flip the question back to.
Oh, yeah. So, James. Okay, James. So let's do a quick survey. Raise our hands if you are not from Texas. All righty. And if you are from Texas, raise your hand.
Where are you going with this, Fred?
Okay, James. So why did you come to McKinney?
Oh, well, thank you for asking the question. That is so kind of you.
Since you were already here.
Yeah. So my wife and I have an insurance business, and we were in Addison at the time, and I was separating from Farmers Insurance, sold that agency, had a fresh start. We can literally go anywhere we want. We're going to stay in DFW, of course, because why on earth would you leave here? You can have a second residence somewhere else. You can vacation somewhere else, but I don't know why anybody would not want to live here. It's the best economy. I mean, it really is the best place. We looked at the entire country and was like, I can't find a good reason to leave DFW. Okay, well, where are we going to be in DFW? We literally looked at the entire map, and we looked at pros and cons of every city in DFW. We came to McKinney, we're like, ooh, there's actually hills.
Yes.
Topography, what a concept.
That's right. And did you know that there's a big old chunk of McKinney that is still not developed?
Yeah, almost half of our land is raw still. And we went to the downtown square, and I swear, it was just like, all right, we're done. I'm not looking anywhere else. This is where we're going to be. And we moved our office here in 2016, but we didn't move our house here until 2022. And let me tell you, those are the longest 6 years of my life, everybody. Longest 6 years. So here we are. Okay, second question. When I came to you and said, hey, Fred, I've got this crazy idea for a podcast, you literally jumped over tables and chairs to say yes. Why are you so amped to be the co-host and to help create the McKinney Podcast?
Oh, James, man, Elizabeth and I moved here because we love McKinney. And as I said earlier, I feel like every day there's something new to discover. If not for the very least the people that are coming in. I look across here and it's like family. It literally is like family in here. And for those of you who are new, when Elizabeth and I came to the chamber back in January of 2011 and then me in 2012, and we're looking out there going, oh my goodness, this is large, this is huge, we don't know anybody here. And all of a sudden, Elizabeth and I are some of the, actually raise your hand if you've been in the—
There's a lot of raising of hands here,
since
Fred.
before
I don't know how I feel about
5
this.
years.
More than 5 years?
More than 5 years.
5 years.
Okay.
More than 5 years. So that would be less than half. Yeah. So when James said I've got the—
Oh, it's less than half.
Yeah, that's right. Which is not more than half, which is math.
Which is the opposite of more than half.
That's right. So when James said, hey, I've got this idea, I was like, oh man, we have got to get out there because there is so much that we need to share about our community. Now, James, share a little bit about how this came about. What was your initial idea?
It originally started with Mark Friedman, God rest his soul, amazing human. He and I talked about this like 8 years ago, before we were even in McKinney. I recorded an episode with him at his studio in Addison, and when we got to McKinney, I looked around and was like, there's not really anybody talking about this town. Like, there's no podcast. And just calling it the McKinney Podcast is kind of a misnomer because it's really the McKinney show, for lack of a better term. Like, it's not just a podcast, like it's a media production. And I'm looking around at Allen. Allen had one for them. Frisco had one, Plano had one. Dallas, of course, has lots of them. But there was not a single person who was celebrating the cool things that happen in this town, the interesting people doing interesting things in the greatest city on the face of planet Earth. Sorry, London, Paris, New York. McKinney, Texas is really where it's at. So, during COVID, it was like, all right, this is the perfect time to do it. And then COVID became more COVID-y, and I ended up not doing it. Yep, COVID-y is a word, I just made it happen. Deal with it. So it was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I've got to not just be some guy with a microphone, because any old schmuck can do that.
That's right.
Earlier not this year, because it's 2025 now, last year, as we were getting ready to launch this thing, somebody else in town started a podcast called Discovering McKinney. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I just said that, sorry, I apologize. It was like, did we really just get scooped on our own podcast? Like our own idea, like somebody else beat us to market? And then he lasted like 12 episodes and he's gone now. So nothing against it, great podcast, is very interesting. But I'm sitting there going, if we're gonna do this right, we have to have really big institutional partners. So I spent a full year getting buy-in from McKinney Chamber, McKinney Economic Development Corporation, Visit McKinney, Community Impact Newspaper, and One Heart McKinney. Those are our in-kind partners, so I'm not just a guy with a microphone. We're two guys with microphones. The Amazing and the whatever the amazing white guy version is of Amazing. But average white guy, yes.
No, that's a band.
I am the definition of majority demographic. Literally everything about me is a stereotype. I come to grips with that fact. So once we got those partners in place, it was like, okay, now we got to get the guest list built out. And of course, we have to start with Mayor George Fuller, because who else to start with than the mayor of the town?
That's right.
And there we go. We got 2 minutes left, so we have to ad lib on what we thought we were going to do.
2 minutes.
So we're going to skip our version of the favorite episode.
That's right.
Who in here is listening to the podcast? Raise your hand. All right, so like 80% of you have never listened to the podcast.
Which is less than half.
Which is less than half.
Math.
All right. Here's what you're going to do. You're going to pull out your podcast app, whichever one it is. We're on all the major platforms. You're going to search McKinney Podcast, and then you're going to listen to one episode. Pick one. It doesn't matter. We have like 35 episodes out now.
And growing.
Pick one of the guests that you think is interesting and go listen to one episode. That's the only homework you got. If you like it, maybe listen to one more. If you don't like it, then cool. No big deal. Have a nice life. We'll see you next time.
But when it comes down to it, those of you who have listened to the podcast, raise your hand if you have an absolute favorite podcast.
Favorite moment, favorite episode, whatever. This is where we get participation.
I love, sorry.
You're not allowed to talk, Elizabeth. You're married to Fred.
You're part of the crew. Barbell.
It was the one with Bailey.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
Bailey.
what I was going to say. Thank you very much.
You already have one.
I stole it from Aspen.
You stole it from, you stole a mug? All right, somebody else, we only have 1 minute left. Anybody else have a favorite moment? Your episode was your favorite moment, wasn't it? What?
LQ.
Can I just say, that is the most unhinged, radical good
That's
time
right.
I have ever had.
Raise your hand if you remember LQ. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
For
That's what
those
she
of you
brought.
that haven't listened to the podcast yet, start with that one. Go listen to LQ's episode. Of all the ones that we've done, I laughed more in that episode than any other
right.
one. And when she announced that she was leaving, we had just recorded her episode. It hadn't even dropped yet. I'm just like, All right, we're out of time, folks. I'm going to put this over here and go ahead and listen to the podcast. Anything else, Fred?
No, we just want to say that remember that we are looking for fresh, new talent. So if you have a story, if you have an organization, if you have a business, if you're looking to make a difference, then by all means, connect with us. And they can do it by
visiting McKinneyPodcast.com. That's all. Thanks, guys.